This story just gets weirder and weirder. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I bring you yet another update to the whole Paul Pelosi quote-unquote home invasion story. We now know that someone came to the door and opened it for the police once they got to Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi's house, and we now know who that person is. And before we get to that, let's back up a little bit to recap. Then we're going to get to the video. If you want to see the video in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description box below. But first things first, I've covered this story in not one but two videos. In the first video, it was the initial reporting. Okay, there was a home invasion at Paul and Nancy Pelosi's house. Paul Pelosi was treated and released from the hospital, all this and that and the third. It was the initial reporting. And right away, the story didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, okay, you're going to break into Paul and Nancy Pelosi's house. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. Is there no security? Are there no cameras? Do the police not really know where this house is? It didn't make any sense from the beginning. And then I did a follow-up video where they're talking about the guy who did it, 42-year-old Didnt. He's a well-known nudist, a communist, and they were trying to say that he was a MAGA extremist and it was a political reason. But how is it a political reason? How is it a MAGA extremist when this guy is a stone cold stomp down leftist? And why was he halfway naked in his underwear at Paul Pelosi's house at 2:30 in the morning? Let's just try to figure out how this whole thing makes sense. Now we have yet another piece of evidence, and actually more than just one piece. And of course, this video I'm going to play will be in the box, but let's go ahead and roll it. Then I'm going to react afterward.
Craig, good morning. When officers arrived here at the Pelosi home exactly a week ago today, they initially didn't have any idea exactly what was going on. They knew they had a high priority call on their hand. What was unclear, what was happening inside the property just behind me.
This morning, Paul Pelosi is home, back at the house that became a crime scene a week ago today. NBC News learning new details about the moments police arrived. Sources familiar with what unfolded in the Pelosi residence now revealing when officers responded to the high-priority call, they were seemingly unaware they'd been called to the home of the Speaker of the House.
Pause. Everyone knows that this is Nancy Pelosi's house. Everybody, you can't not know that if you are San Fran Police Department. You have to know it because you're going to see, if Nancy's there, you're going to see the detail outside. You're going to be tipped and aware this is Nancy Pelosi's house. It's going to have a higher priority of protection, or at least it should. Maybe these are a bunch of rookies or something like that. But you know that's Nancy Pelosi's house. Everybody in the area knew it. Didnt knew it. So how don't the police know it? But let's keep on going.
After a knock and announce, the front door was opened by Mr. Pelosi. The 82-year-old did not immediately declare an emergency or tried to leave his home.
Okay, all right. Let's just get it together. So, in the previous video, I put an update as a pinned comment in the actual YouTube video itself. And I said police were saying there was a third person who came to the door and opened it, but it's an unknown person. But now we know it was Paul Pelosi himself. So check it out. They said Paul called the police using coded language, talking about, oh, he's a friend, but I don't really know him. And he's here to see my wife, all this, that, and the third. That's what they said that he said, right? But how does that make any sense if you're trying to use coded language to get the police to come, and then when the police come, you didn't go outside with them? If you have a threat in your house, a home invader that smashed your back window in, and the police get there, your first reaction would be, okay, I'm out. Let me just dive into the police's arms and get out of the way. But rather than doing that, he backs away from the police who came to his house, and he goes back toward the so-called home invader. How does that make any sense? You call the police get there, and you don't go with them, you don't leave with them? Make that make sense. Try.
but instead began walking several feet back into the foyer toward the assailant and away from police. It's unclear if the 82-year-old was already injured or what his mental state was, say sources. According to court documents, when the officer asked what was going on, defendant smiled and said everything's good. But instantaneously, a struggle ensued as police clearly saw David DePape strike Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer. After tackling the suspect, officers rushed to Mr. Pelosi, who was lying in a pool of blood.
What we do know is he brutally attacked Mr. Pelosi and attempted to kill him.
After spending several days in the ICU, Pelosi, who is recovering from a fractured skull and serious injuries to his arm and hand, is now home, where Capitol Police remain on alert. Investigators have previously said Pelosi did not know DePape when the 42-year-old broke into his home. Why Pelosi didn't try to flee or tell responding officers he was in distress is unclear.
Fear takes over. Fear freezes people.
This morning, the 82-year-old lucky to be alive after an intruder near.
And you see the glass outside of the actual back window. So if someone broke into your home, why is there glass outside the window? Is that how that works? Maybe he was just hammering, and the glass was starting to break, but it's like an impact. Like somebody threw something through the window and caused the glass to spray outward, out of the house, not inside the home.
Nearly killed him in his own home.
So you see this big hole right there. All right. Now the hole does appear to be going inward, but why is the glass outside? It just doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense.
Law enforcement officials tell us the bottom line here is this was a terrifying situation. We still don't know exactly what unfolded between Mr. Pelosi and the suspect for the 30 minutes they were alone inside that house before police arrived. Officials who were investigating this matter would not go into further details about these new details. Craig, back to you.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, though. He is lucky to be alive. Miguel Almaguer for us. Miguel, thank you.
Craig,
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Can we just go back and look at some of this stuff? There's so much I want to say. So like I said, the initial report was from a spokesperson that he was totally fine. He made a complete recovery. Then it became he had a fractured skull and he had serious injuries to his arm and his hand. So he had to get surgery, basically like brain surgery, essentially, for the fractured skull. But again, when the police got there, this hadn't happened yet. There was no assault yet. And the guy was there for a half hour before the police arrived. So, okay, a guy breaks in your home. He's there for a half hour. He doesn't attack you at all. When the police get there, you don't just say, okay, cool, the cavalry's here, let me just get outside. You go back toward the attacker and then you get attacked and the police have to intervene at that point. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute. And here's what I wanted to get to right here. So Capitol Police have cameras outside of the home that were already set up, but somehow they were not monitoring these cameras. Again, it doesn't make any sense. There's a lot going on here, but here's what I'm going to say. The police out there in San Fran, they have a communication issue, and I think that they're trying to protect Paul Pelosi. That's just my humble opinion. People could say, oh, misinformation. I'm giving my opinion. I have the right to give my opinion. All I could do is show you what they showed on the news and what the police are saying, and then I could just give you my 2 cents on it. That's what I do here. But I think they're trying to protect Paul Pelosi because the man was probably an invited guest. The guy gets unruly, talking about where's Nancy. Now Paul's like, okay, what do? I got to figure out a way to get him out of my house, all this and that. So then he calls the police. Maybe he goes back toward the attacker because he's embarrassed. Maybe Paul's in his drawers. Maybe Paul got something else going on and he doesn't want them to see. You know, like if they go into the house and they get this guy, they may see some other things that they shouldn't see. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but this does not, I've never heard about a story of a home invader where the police get there and the homeowner just says, nah, okay, I'm not going to go outside with you guys that are called. I'm going to go back toward the home invader. There's much more to this story. I think it was, like I said from the beginning, my initial thought process was from the beginning, this was an invited guest, not an uninvited guest, who became ruly and had to get kicked out. That's why the police got involved. And that's why things got so weird when the police got there, because it was not what they thought it was, a home invasion or some kind of thing where a guy was in danger from an unknown person, talking about, oh, I don't know him, but he's my friend David. Anyway, I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about Paul Pelosi himself coming to the door when the police arrive? So knock, knock, knock. Who is it? Police. Okay. I'm just casually going to the front door with a violent home invader right beside me. I'm going to open it up. Hey, how you guys doing, officers? Come on inside. And you go back to work. That story is completely bogus. Completely. I want to know what that man was doing there, why he was there, and the whole home invasion thing, I'm not buying. I think the windows burst out after the fact to make it look a little bit more realistic. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really see an alternative point of view that makes any sense to me. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.